whatever my fear is, I have to be able to face it and replace it. I can't do anything if I'm running from fear. I got to run towards fear. Every soldier who goes into battle, there's a high propensity that there's a fear there, but I'm running into it because one, either I have a why that supersedes the fear, but even if I don't, I got to get to the place where I know that whatever I'm afraid of, if I just run completely into it, the propensity is I'm going to come out successful on the other side.
I'm pumped about this, man, because I think the William Jackson's got something to say.
Listen, I came locked and loaded, both barrels.
I like it.
Yeah.
So William Jackson, author, speaker, life coach, I call it. I don't know if you want to be called that or not, but you're a coach.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if guys like you like to say, hey, motivators and inspirational figures, and you can go to your website, the official WilliamJackson.com, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You can go there, and there's a lot of things. That picture's looking good. The brand's looking good.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and so, we're going to talk about the book today, but I want to talk about everything that happened that caused that book to be written, too.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yes, sir.
I think Cincinnati's probably special because you're born and raised. Guys like you we don't just get lucky to have guys like you in the backyard.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm serious, man. And so this book that you wrote, When Life Happens,
mm-hmm.
There's got to be something. So I want to know, if we're going to talk for 2 hours, I want to know what brought you here,
mm-hmm.
what caused that book to be written, and why are you the William Jackson?
So, well, me affectionately, I call myself the purpose pusher. I push purpose because I believe that majority of people go to the grave without purpose ever being realized or materialized or ever fully stepped into. I was one of those who before, and I'll talk about what led up to the book, I was one of those who took moments for granted. I always believed, okay, I can do that later. I'll have the next moment. I don't have to maximize every single second because I just falsely had a sense of belief that I'll have the next one until I almost didn't. So in 2000, I had a sinus infection spread to my brain. Fluid gathered on the right side of my brain, and I start having these incredible headaches. I'm talking about migraines on steroids. I felt like when I blinked, it felt like my head was going to explode. I couldn't take deep breaths. I was everything. I couldn't have any lights on. So it took me a minute, even with all of those symptoms, to say, let me get to the hospital. So I got to the hospital, walked into the ER, and as they were doing all the paperwork, I said, I need to go to the bathroom. Got up, went to the bathroom, and as I was coming out of the bathroom, I had a stroke how I didn't even know it, but my left side was dragging. So my limbs on my left side, my foot, my arms, and I was having a stroke in the emergency room. So they rushed me in, and I had a full stroke and was completely paralyzed on the left side of my body. They told me to smile, only the right side of my face would move. They would prick my hand till it bled, wouldn't feel anything. So the prognosis was we don't know what's wrong with him. He was healthy. There was no symptoms within the bloodline. This is just one of those freak scenarios where I can't really pinpoint it. So much so that they literally had to fly a specialist in who was on vacation on a golf course. They flew him in to try to figure out what was going on with me. So, the diagnosis was I was going to die at first because it was so severe. Didn't know what was wrong with me. And then the specialist got in and they said, okay, we can sort of figure out what to do. It's going to take some brain surgery and, we'll sort of figure it out. But he's probably not going to walk again. The stroke was that severe. He's probably going to live in an unresponsive state for the rest of his life. So just prepare yourself. He's probably going to need round-the-clock care. And, he's going to be in that state to where he's going to need somebody to take care of him for the rest of his life. So, we go through this process. I'm paralyzed completely for about 2 months. There's a scar over my eye. They put a tube in my head that went up like this. And they would come in every 3 to 4 hours with a needle about this long. And they would stick into that tube and drain fluid off of my brain. So it was one of those type of situations I couldn't eat. So they had to feed me through a feeding tube. And I don't know if anybody's ever been fed through a feeding tube, but they don't put you to sleep for that. They just give you the feeding, give you a cup of water until you keep swallowing. They take the feeding tube and push it up your nose, down your throat. So they would put the feeding tube in, and then maybe a couple of days I would throw up, and then they would have to do it all over again. So it was a consistent type of situation. I had tubes everywhere. They had IVs into my chest, down into my heart, trying to figure out all. So it was a crazy situation. So 2 brain surgeries later, I start getting back mobility in my limbs and my extremities. And I'll never forget, one of the most monumental days of my life was my first day of physical therapy. I go to physical therapy, and I'm excited because they said I can never walk again. I'm up. I'm ready to walk. I'm ready to tackle the world. So I get to physical therapy, and the physical therapist says, today we're going to practice buttoning a shirt. And I said, I know how to button a shirt. I've been paralyzed for 2 months. I'm trying to get up and walk. I'm not here to button a shirt. She's like, no, we need to try to practice buttoning the shirt. And I said, no, I'm ready to walk. I've been literally lying in the bed, paralyzed. Forget the shirt. I know how to do it. Let's walk. We argued for about 15 minutes. She said, okay, fine. You know what? I'm going to put this shirt on you. And if you could button this shirt, we'll try to walk. And she put the shirt on me. It was a jersey. And she put a jersey on me, and my hands wouldn't function. And at that moment, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And she said something to me that was so pivotal that I think so many people go through life not understanding. She said, you don't understand the amount of trauma and what you actually have been through. You don't understand the damage that's been done to you and how we have to rewire all of your internal wirings, your internal mechanisms, because your brain knows how to do it. But everything that sends the signal down to your limbs and your extremities has to be rewired all over again. And I sat there and tears running down my face, and it was like, wow. Because you could know how to do something, but to be limited to know it and to know that you had a history of doing it. How many times did I take for granted buttoning a shirt? We never consider those moments to say, okay, I get up every morning and I get to button a shirt. It's, I put my shirt on. It's time to go.
What was your go-to? I don't want to get you off this, but I'm
Yeah.
going to what was your go-to in that moment, your go-to thought, when you realized that you can't button your shirt?
Yeah.
And you're crying.
Yeah.
Where did your brain, because that's the beginning of the evolution of you, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So in that moment, I went through a myriad of thoughts, right? Because you're sitting there, you're realizing the damage that's been done to you, realize the severity of your situation. But now it's almost a sense of motivation because, one, they said I was going to die. I'm still here. They said I was never going to walk again and never have mobility back in my limbs. I can feel stuff. I'm moving, so we're moving in the right direction. So it's okay. I see what's happened, and I see how difficult it has been, and how difficult my situation and my circumstances and my history and everything, the prognosis, the diagnosis, everything that's been before me said that I had no chance to win. But I'm seeing traces of small wins. So, okay, cool. You said I wasn't going to walk again. You said I wasn't going to live. You said I was going to live in an unresponsive state. Okay.
So you're determined.
Yes.
Okay. Was that determination, was it there as a kid?
Yeah, I was one of those who always thrived in places where I was challenged the most. You know, it was funny. If things were too easy for me, I really didn't apply myself because it was too easy. And I remember my mom tells this story about how I wasn't doing my schoolwork. And, you know, she calls and they say, you know, Mrs. Jackson, he just won't do his work. He's so smart. He knows it. He gets it, but he just won't do it. And she asked me, she said, why you won't do it? I said, because it's too easy. It doesn't make sense. I feel like I'm wasting my time. And I'm in like grade school. And we literally went into the principal's office, and she said, now they're going to ask you, why you not doing your work? I said, okay, cool. He actually said, why you not doing work? I said, because it's stupid. It's easy. He said, well, if it's that easy, just do it. So I've always been that type. If you challenge me, I have to not only rise to the challenge, I have to exceed the expectations.
Did you start doing your homework?
Yeah, I did it because then it became more so I found a way to make it more a competitive nature in me. So then it wasn't me doing my work. It was me being better than everybody else in the class.
I'm going to win.
Yeah. I'm going
to win. Were you aware and awake when did you know they thought you were going to die?
I didn't know until I started the aspect of me actually gaining awareness and consciousness, because for a while, I was heavily sedated. It was so many aspects of the situation, like my temperature degree. I don't know necessarily what it is, where you reach a certain temperature, you overheat and you die. I was like 1 degree below that. So they had me in a cooling room that was blowing cooling air, freezing cold air, and then they had a cooling blanket on top of me. So I was heavily sedated, but I'm still shivering in the rooms. It was just so much going on. But when I actually came to and start having an awareness, I start hearing conversations, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of people end up doing is you hear conversations of what people are saying about you, and you got a choice to make, right? Yeah, I hear this. I can either take that as truth, or I can figure out how I can take that and manipulate that to win in this process, right? So it was one of those situations like, wow, because I never considered a moment where I would almost be out of here. It was never a thought. So to be faced with the reality that life was almost over for me, it was a different revolutionary experience. And then I start considering things even more so.
Life gets serious.
Yeah.
So when you say you're a purpose pusher.
Yes.
What's that mean?
So I have made it my intentional goal to make sure that people are being purposeful and walking in purpose. Because the opposite of being purposeful is being lackadaisical. And I lived in a space where I'll get to it. It's okay. I got that. I'll do it tomorrow. It was easy, so I didn't really apply myself. But then when you realize how fragile life is, and you get to that point where you say, man, I was taking so much for granted.
So what do we do with people that are in our lives that you have an opportunity to impact that don't go through that life or death moment?
Yeah.
But they're still approaching life the way you were before.
Yeah.
How do you get them to wake up?
So I think everything happens through either lived experience or learned experience, right? All reality is adopted reality. It's the reality that you adopt. That's how you can put two people in the same situation, same home, same parents, same schooling, same love, and have two completely different outcomes. It's the reality that you adopt, right? So it's one, having people who sort of approach life like, oh, I'll get to it when you hear, because you only operate to the level of your exposure, right? So when you hear stories of like things that have happened to people, or you expose yourself, or you're around certain people, it's really almost impossible to grow in an effective way when you're surrounded by people who only cultivate the present version of you. I always say you need future friends, people who are future focused, who can look to where you are now, but having an awareness as to where you're headed, so they won't let you settle for here.
All right, so it's important that we surround ourselves with the right people.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
What about all those people from the life that we don't want to live anymore?
Yeah.
When we forget about where we came from.
Yeah.
What do we do with those people that care about us or we care about them? Can you live in both worlds?
So I feel like you can't necessarily, you can live in both worlds, but you can't thrive in both worlds. Once you start splitting yourself to say, okay, I'm going to be over here, then I'm going to be over here, I can't fully give myself to anything. So that's how we get the people who are jack of all trades, master of none, right? Now, the flip side of this, the rest of that quote says, but it's better to be a jack of all trades, actually, but and a master of none. So, but it's in the space of understanding that I have to come to a point in a position where I have to make a choice for me to where purpose becomes important to me, right? I can't do anything with anybody who I can try to give you all the motivational tactics in the world. I can give you all of the insight. I can give you all of the wisdom. I can give you numbers, statistics. I can show you based on your history and the people that you're around and show you people who are thriving in your same situations. I can give you all of that. But if you don't want it, I can't want it for you.
Did you learn all this?
Yes. I learned all of it through my own lived experiences, but I was more so of the one, I don't have to see it for myself. If you tell me it's a dog outside this door, rabid dog, running around biting people, I don't have to go out there to see it. I'm going to take your word for it. So being around people and situations to where I was always a sponge because I wanted to learn, because when you're motivated to win, you're more so focused on processes and strategies. How can I win? How can I be effective here? So I always had that sort of innate behavior in me that was driving me or driving me to be the version of me that was always thriving. So that's, I think for me, having both that desire and my lived experiences only heightened it even more, right? And then, I grew up in a single parent household, so I had an extra motivation there too. I wanted to be able to take care of my mother, wanted to be able to take care of my family.
You know what those stats are about being raised in a single parent household, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with them.
About that, if you listen to what they are, because they're stacked against
absolutely
kids, but you're not supposed to be sitting here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how?
Well, one, I feel like that I live by a different creed because I believe heavily in the power of faith and in what I stand on. And I know that I within myself can accomplish anything. But it's my faith, it's my belief, it's trusting in God and knowing that whatever is going to be for me will be. It sort of releases a level of anxiety or anxiousness, because I feel like anxiety comes into place when I take ownership of my direction, or I'm trying to take ownership of the timing. Like I feel like it needs to happen here, happen this way. And if it doesn't go this way, then my life isn't thriving and I'm not in a space where I'm operating at my highest potential. But I think everything comes back down to a foundation of faith. Whatever you believe, either you believe in your ability to accomplish your goal, you believe in the fact that you were created on purpose, with purpose, and for purpose. If you get to a place where you are unable to believe in anything, then that's that danger zone, because then you're now susceptible to the labels that people put on you. You're susceptible to your environment. You're susceptible to your friends. You're susceptible to the things that have been passed down in your bloodline. Okay, well, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, all of them were alcoholics, so I guess I'm supposed to be. And we don't even understand how much power we have in our words. Like being able to literally shape your thoughts, because everything starts with a thought. I call it the tea party, right? Starts in a thought, filters down into your emotions, comes out into your actions. Everything starts with a thought. So being able to control my thoughts will then be able to dictate my emotions, and then I can control my output.
That's a perfect description of emotional intelligence.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
There's these terms that we're so often are in front of us now.
Yeah.
Social media and books. And if you don't know what it is and you're not a reader, if you're not someone who wants to educate your mind, you're like, oh, man, what is that, man?
Yeah.
They keep talking about this self-awareness thing, this emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
It's knowing that at some level you can control your emotions and thoughts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the way that you do that, the main way that you do that, are by the words that you speak. It's impossible to speak one thing and think something contrary simultaneously.
Yeah, it's the thing you speak is what you feel about yourself and
Absolutely.
think about yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there were times even, and I'm not saying like I always had this mastered, right? I just was willing to apply some strategy. So there were times where I would write down certain declarations or affirmations and stick them up in different parts of my home. even on my bathroom mirror. And the rule was, whenever you entered this room, you had to say what was on that note, even if I didn't feel it. So if I get in there and the sticky note says, I'm called to greatness and will accomplish great things. There were days where I walked in and said, all right, I'm called to greatness, but I'm accomplish great things. Even me not feeling it, it's training my mind to think on that level. So being able to consistently control my dialogue then helps shape my thoughts, and everything comes out through that aspect. And we so much throw away thoughts, throw away moments. And that's one of the things, even like, and I talk about this in the book, is there are so much of time that we throw away because we have the arrogance in believing that I have more of it. And getting to that place to where say, okay, and we hear those questions all the time. If you had 24 hours to live, what would you do?
What would you do?
If I had 24 hours to live, so much I would do. So much I would do.
So we hear it all the time.
Yeah, so you hear it all the time, and it's like, yeah, but I don't have 24 hours to live. I got 24 years.
But we may.
I got 50, but you never know. And when you live in that space of, I never know, then I approach the day different.
That connects with me on a sense of urgency that
Yes.
I try to feel in my life every day.
Mm-hmm.
I remove the anxiety from it.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not worried about what could happen. That's
Yes.
where so many people have anxiety. They're worried about what could happen. But I want to take a sense of urgency around everything I do.
Yes.
Right. It's the room you walk into, and to introduce yourself. It's if there's 10 things to do, get busy doing one of them. It's only going to leave 9 left.
Exactly.
I think that connects with me about the 24 hours, because a lot of people may think about, hey, if I've got 24 hours to live, what do I do? Just the thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
So my mind goes to a place, whatever you do it with a sense of urgency.
Yes.
I'm going to accomplish more.
Yes.
I'm not trying to put the words in your mouth.
No, so one of my mantras is give everything you got to everything you do.
There you go.
Everything. If it's mopping the floor, if it's folding clothes, if it's speaking in front of 20,000 people, same energy.
Have you spoken in front of 20,000 yet?
I've spoken in front of 15.
How'd that feel?
It felt great. It felt awesome, because not even from the standpoint of, I get a different high, right? The stages, the lights, the glitz, the glamour, that's cool, right? But seeing impact in people, that's what I really get a rise out of. When I can see people come and they share their stories of, man, this changed my life. Like, I was literally on the verge, and I've had these conversations, I was literally on the verge of committing suicide. And these moments saved my life. Like, that for me, that's everything. Because, people, there's a lot of fanfare in aspects of everything that we do. But if you know anything about fans and fanatics, I'm an avid sports fan, they flip on you like that. So if you get caught up on the cheers, and that is your sense of motivation, there will also be the sense of despair when they turn the boos.
Well, the hecklers are going to mess you up then, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. So you gotta, there has to be a different level of coming back to that faith and foundation. What am I here for? Because if I'm here to get on the stage in front of 15,000 people, then I won't give the same energy when I'm in front of 5. So if I can't give the same energy in front of 5, 10, 20, 100, 1,000, then I'm not ready for the 15,000.
Where do we start to find our purpose, right? If you're the purpose pusher,
Yep.
what's the foundation of figuring that out? Because where I came from poor blue collar.
Yeah.
So many other people, right?
Yep.
And what's weird about our country, in the 70s and 80s, there wasn't as much money in our system.
Yeah.
So there were more people who were poor who didn't have things. Now poor is different.
Yeah.
Poor now is different. It's a mindset, but we're walking around with iPhones,
Absolutely,
and new clothes, and have plenty of food,
Yeah.
for the most part, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're homeless, you can go somewhere and pretty much find somewhere to stay.
Oh, yeah.
Then there wasn't anybody coming to help you,
Oh, yeah.
right? You could get food stamps, like I remember those times. But
Mhm.
so if that's a place that you come from,
Yeah.
where do you even begin to figure out what purpose means in their life?
So I think purpose can be defined in a lot of different ways, or the discovery of purpose, right? So one, I always tell people, let's trace back to childhood. What were some of the things that you were naturally passionate about? What are some of your natural giftings? What are some of the things that you had natural inclinations towards before somebody told you no to that? What were some of the things that you just naturally, we hear about these child prodigies, in music and arts, but so many kids have a certain natural inclination, but a parent or friend or somebody then put a label on them that changed the trajectory of their future. So, we were talking earlier, we were talking about college, and, he was talking about, well, I was going to go for a 2-year degree, but, you're supposed to go and you got to get a good degree, a 4-year. But what if this was the area that I was supposed to be in? So then now I take the label that was placed on me, and that begins to shape my identity, right? So we start going backwards. What are some of the things you're naturally gifted in? My son, he's naturally gifted in architecture and building and creating. My wife and I, we bought him this car that you can take. He's 6 years old. It's a screwdriver. You can unscrew it, take it apart, and put it together in different ways. He'll just do it for hours, finding different ways to create it, right? If I don't recognize that and start cultivating it, and I want to say, oh, you need to get out here and play football. You need to get out here and do something. I'm now automatically reshaping his identity and how he even views the things that he likes. Because as a child, 9 times out of 10, you want to do things to please your parents, right? So if your parents applaud you for being on the football field, but not necessarily for creating a mock-up structure of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, then I'm going to lean towards football because that's where I get the love and affirmation from. So we start tracing backwards. What are some of those things that you're naturally gifted at, right? So then after that, what are the things that you get aggravated the most about when they're done wrong? If you walk into a room today and say, for instance, you are naturally aggravated when music is done wrong. When you walk in and you hear bad music and the chord structure and the melodies and it starts to literally frustrate you, right? That's because there's something there. Because someone else.
You're a musician, I bet.
I am.
That frustrates you, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I walk into a room when I hear it. It's just, and here's the thing, is that it doesn't have to be horrible to be wrong, right? So that's how you can start to gauge it. If I'm in a place where I'm naturally inclined to certain things, when it's off, I can sense it, right? There's a natural sense there, and I start to say, oh, if they would have did this, oh, I would have did it like this. So those are areas that are leading you, right? So you have your passions and you have the things that are like you can put into an aggravation or pain category. What are things that frustrate you the most? So there is many different layers that you start to find it in. And then through your growth and development and your evolution, it's the things that light you up. What are the things that you're most excited about? I like to ask what I call those second and third tier questions. A lot of times when we talk about wasting opportunities, we have conversations. Hey, how you doing? 9 times out of 10, you get what answer?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. Fine. Conversation over.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not until I start cracking that shell, we start going beneath the surface, and we really start to find out the base of this iceberg and who we are. Right? I start asking the questions. What are some of the things that you're most excited about in life right now? And you really got to think, what am I most excited about in life? What are the things that light me up? What are the things that make me happy, that make me want to get out of bed? Those are inclinations that I need to be exploring that.
Is this important to, as I'm sitting here, it seems like so many humans come with unique characteristics.
Yes.
And my observation is that's a compound of your childhood, your experiences, how you've trained and developed your brain, how you talk to yourself, right? The types of jobs you've had. It's like choices and experience throughout your life.
Yeah.
And so if everyone comes to us differently, do you have to have one-on-one coaching? Do you have to have one-on-one engagement to help people thinking about this process? Or do you think we're more alike than not?
So I think that everything happens in an atmosphere, right? there's a large benefit to one-on-one interaction for those who necessarily need it, right? Who thrive in more so that relationship connectivity. You know, it's a huge benefit to that. But also, you can get into the environment and the atmosphere, and energy is contagious. When you go to an event and everybody's jumping or everybody's excited and it starts to reverberate through the room and that starts to catch like wildfire, something will begin to open up in you just getting into the atmosphere. If you get into an atmosphere with a bunch of negative people, eventually you're going to start thinking negative. You're going to start talking negative. You're going to start walking with your head hanging down and your shoulders slouched over. But if I'm around people who are motivated every day, who get up every single day and are attacking the day, I'm gonna have a different energy. So there's a benefit to both. Like it's the difference in being in a room, going to the gym where everybody's working out and having a trainer, right? It's a benefit to both. Getting in a room where everybody is moving and an energy and everybody's lifting weights and you see them working hard, it motivates you to work hard, because I can't be around people who are working hard, because then it magnifies the fact that I'm not doing anything. But then if I want to take it up a notch and I really want to start fine tuning and I want to start chiseling some things away and I want to actually live at my peak condition, let me get a trainer, because I need somebody who has the guidance, the experience, who can say, hey, these is what you do. This is how many reps. This is how many sets. Okay, you got 30 seconds break. Because when I'm working out alone in the gym, I can take as long as I want to, right? If I want to sit down, I'm saying, I'm tired, right? But sometimes you need a trainer to say, no, you're not.
So it's the same approach to life.
Absolutely.
So what I found myself is you got to get started.
Yes.
And it's those that are willing to take a first step for some reason that can start down a path towards some level of achievement. You talk about having a purpose.
Yeah.
That's the one that the coach can make the biggest difference in.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That I'm not asking you to show up.
Mm-hmm.
You show up and give me some effort. So Gino Oriema, probably the top women's basketball coach.
Oh, yeah.
Pat Summitt was strong.
Mm-hmm.
You got the lady from South Carolina that's starting to do some really good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the other day, I don't know if it was on a reel, if it was on Instagram, but somebody was interviewing him.
Yeah.
And he's getting a little angry
Mm-hmm.
in life. He used to be really positive. He's getting angry. I don't know if it's age or they're making him mad, the new girls. I don't know what's up. But he said there's 2 reasons. So let's talk about if we think he's right. 2 reasons why we don't do something, and only 2.
Okay.
So 1, because we don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, because I just don't feel like it.
That's a good assessment. Don't know how, and I don't feel like it.
So I'm thinking, I'm kind of buying into it, because I think if you don't know how and you still want to, at least you're going to raise your hand.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I'm going to raise your hand. If you got the right coach around you, I'm assuming the analogy he was making was, hey, if you raise your hand, we recruited you, we think you know how, but if for some reason you don't know how to execute this thing and you honestly don't know how, I'm assuming his coaching staff will get right on training you.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. And they're going to hold you accountable. But I think his analogy was on the second one, he said if you're somebody who you just don't feel like it, he's insinuating there's nothing I can do.
Yeah. So I'll take that second one a step further, because I think those are amazing points. If you don't know how and you don't feel like it, but at the same time, I think it's something to be said that if you've never been exposed to the possibility, because I can't even get to a place where I don't feel like it if I've never seen it as a possibility. The young ladies who are at the college have been in this environment. They've been pushing, they've been developing, they've gotten to this point, they've been recruited, they have coaches, they have trainers. But if I have never seen it as a possibility, then I'll never even put myself in the race, because I don't even see that the race is something to be even entered into.
Yep.
So I think a lot of it has to do with your environment, who you surround with, and what you've been exposed to, because there are certain people who I meet from all over the world who have never left their city. They've never been out of it. They were born in it. They've spent their entire life in it. It's all they know. So you don't even have an awareness as to the possibility of what could be happening on the West Coast, if you were literally spent your entire life on the East Coast, in your city, in your town, in your environment. So everything is shaped, I think, by. So my third one would be, the first one is you don't know how. Second one is just don't feel like it. 3, I've never been exposed to the possibility.
So that's what you're dealing with when you write this book.
Yeah.
Because you're not talking to people who have already figured that out.
Right.
Because why write the book?
So now the beautiful part about it is the title is When Life Happens, because life happens to us all and life happens over and over and over again. So it doesn't matter on what level it's happening, it will happen again. So you could be in a place of success and then all of a sudden a pandemic hits. Life. What do we do? What's the strategy? What's the fallback plan? Because I think one of the greatest hindrances and destructive mindsets of success and continual thriving is complacency. When I get comfortable where I am, because you never know the storm that's coming around the corner. So if I am always, let's go back to your sense of urgency. If I'm approaching every day with a sense of urgency, then I am, without me knowing it, unconsciously presenting this day with a proactive approach of being prepared in some type of fashion. Because if I am never in a sense where I'm working and I've reached a place where I feel like I've arrived, that I'm good here, when everything happens, when the stock market crashes, when there's a pandemic, when there is a recession and life crumbles, what's the plan? Because then we get into this place to where, okay, I was good here, then all of a sudden you snatched the rug out from under me and now I don't know what to do. Suicides are at an alarming rate are climbing. Divorce. There are so many aspects of people who are saying, okay, you know what? I thought I had it. I don't, and I don't know what to do.
Oh, how important it is to surround ourselves with the right people.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, you're a guy that's probably a little bit more refined in the way he talks at times than me. I'll drop a word every once in a while. So I went ahead and gave the preface to, you know, when shit happens in life.
Yeah.
Man, you need the right people around you.
Yes.
Because I think we wake up with this idyllic perspective that today's going to go well.
Mm-hmm.
If you're living life right.
Yeah.
Today's going to go well. There's a lot of days it just doesn't. It doesn't
Absolutely.
go to plan.
Mm-hmm.
And even the most resilient of us,
Yeah.
there's going to be quiet moments in our brain, in our head, that little self-talk starts to creep in.
Mm-hmm.
Have I had enough? Have I dealt with enough pain?
Mm-hmm.
Should I keep going? This feels really hard.
Yeah.
Do I have it in me? Stuff happens to me at times.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The other day, someone said to me, so my real day career is in the real estate business.
Yeah.
And this is just fun. But I
love
learn
it.
a lot.
Yeah.
And the real estate business has been challenging for the past 6 to 7 months.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
The company for 15. It's been challenging. And I made a comment to someone really close to me. I went, you want it? You can have it. Referring to the company.
Yeah.
And they snapped on me quick.
Mm.
And they said, it doesn't sound like the necessary entrepreneur.
Come on.
And I went, damn. And then right after that, because I didn't respond because I'm taking it in, I have a quick quip.
Yeah.
They said, what would the necessary entrepreneur say?
Mm.
And I'm like, man, I just created this a couple years. I've been doing this real estate company for a long time. You're not going to use my own stuff against me. But I said, what would they say? They'd be like, suck it up and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
That's having the right people around you.
That's what you need. Future friends.
Right.
You need people who won't allow you to make a momentary reaction in the present and forfeit your future. Because if I don't have language or insight, if we're best friends and I don't have language or insight to where you're headed, when you want to make a split decision, they say, you know what, if you want, you can have it. You know, I'm tired of her. Or you should leave her. Oh, I'm tired of this company. Just sell it. I forfeit everything by listening to people who don't have language for my future. And we get so stuck around people because of So I'll give you a little tidbit. So my next book is a leadership book, and there's a chapter in it. It's called Drinking and Pouring. And we get so sucked into the cycle of wanting to drink from places that we're supposed to pour in, because I get comfortable with this flow. So I'm pouring into you, and because you have proximity to me, I think that you're supposed to reciprocate. So then what happens is that I'm pouring into you, but then when you try to pour it back into me, it's diluted. So now what I'm getting back from you is just a warped version of what I gave to you. And if I make a decision based on the warped version of information that I've given you, then I warp my whole future. So that's why it's important to be able to identify, where am I supposed to drink and where am I supposed to pour? Because if I keep going back to the same places to trying to get, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. So if I don't surround myself with people who won't let me settle, then every single day when life doesn't go right, they will let me settle for the version of life that best suits, honestly, and a lot of times that best suits them. Because if they're comfortable with this version of you on this level, when you start to strive for more, then you'll start to hear some of that negativity. I don't know. I can't surround myself with people who are I don't knowers. I need people around me who, if I say, you know what, I'm feeling like this, I have an urge, I want to open up this new business, I'm ready to open up, I'm ready to go down this lane, explore this venture. Okay, let's do it. Let's figure it out, what we need to do.
How long do you have to plan in advance to be intentional about surrounding yourself with those people?
So for me, I had to make a hard shift, right? Because, like I said, awareness and exposure. When I realized that the people around me, although they may have been good people, were not good for my future, I then had to make an abrupt shift, because if I allowed it to linger and try to say, hey, I think, now there were some people I had conversations with, some people I just had to walk away from, because every time I give access to people who have no desire to see me win in the future, I give them opportunity to start swaying me off of my decision. So I start having these conversations, and I'm like, I feel like I just kind of need to go this way. Well, I mean, do you really? I mean, we've known each other for 15 years. Yeah, I know, man. Then they start to guilt trip you. Oh, come on, man. We grew up together. Like, we played in the sandbox together. Now you want to try to. Sometimes I just got to make a hard shift. But when you get to that place where you know that you need to make a change, I feel like for those who don't have the strength to have those conversations, is if you just strategically start saying no more often, you'll start seeing people weed themselves out. If you literally just start strategically saying no. Hey, we're going out tonight. You want to go? Nope. Oh, well, come on. We always go out. No, I can't. Okay, cool. Then the next night, hey, man, you want to go out tonight? Nah.
They stop calling.
They stop asking.
Yep.
So if you strategically start implementing no's, they'll do the work for you.
Just become really boring.
Yeah. and most people don't, because we have such an over obsession with time and a fear of missing out. So people want to say, okay, if I don't go, what am I going to miss? If I don't get out there, they're going to have a good time, and then I'm not, because I'm looking at now versus in a minute.
How deep do you go on this on the people really close to you?
I feel like it's necessary all the way down to your family members, because when you realize that every single moment matters, I could love you, but from a distance, because I can't give my moments to you thinking that I'll have another moment. If these are my only moments, I can't waste them surrounded by people who doubt, who have uncertainty, who talk negative. I don't even allow negative talkers around me. I can't. It's literally, I start itching. It's like I break out in hives. I need to move into another room, because energy is contagious. So I love you, and I've had family members. I love you. We're blood. But this is where I'm headed. And it is not a comfortable thing to do. One of the hardest things I had to do was walk away from friends who I really had deep relationship with. Like we spent 10, 15 years like growing together and building, and these were my homies, these were my brothers, but I'm going this way. And it doesn't happen overnight, but the way that you continuously reinforce that thought is you have to continuously keep exposing yourself to future opportunities, to future atmosphere. Because what happens is we'll have this one-off moment of enlightenment. Everything is, oh, great. I see purpose. I see clearly. I need to make a change. And so then I go back and try to make a change. And then after I try to make that one change, I don't go back and fill that tank again. So then I make that change and it shifts, and then now I'm left with a void. So then now I've removed something, but I haven't replaced it. So now I got a void, and then eventually I start venturing back.
You know what's so tough for most people to be around guys like you?
What?
That if you go into the depths on multiple subjects of who William Jackson is, they're going to feel like it's mixed messages.
Okay.
But it's not.
Yeah.
Because there's got to be an intentional approach to life. Because I saw an interview with someone, where you talked about I'm in too deep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes people in their relationships in life, they're going to think, man, I can't do that. I'm in too deep. However, what you know and you found out, if you don't disconnect from that person,
yeah,
you're going to stay right where you're at.
Yeah.
However, if you've got a commitment you need to make to your wife to go somewhere,
yeah,
you got to be committed to go all the way.
Absolutely.
How do we deal with these things?
So I treat every scenario as a blank canvas, right? Because there's no universal law for anything other than you're going to live and die, right? So being able to apply the fact that when I'm in too deep in the areas of my purpose and destiny, my pursuit of who I'm supposed to be, I give an analogy in a book about a marathon runner who trained for months. And you run half of a marathon, you catch a cramp. Okay, I got to figure it out. What am I going to do? Am I going to stop? Am I going to turn around and try to walk all the way back after all the progress I've made? Or do I push through? Do I trust my training? Do I realize I am in too deep in this race for me to throw in the towel? Now, there are certain things that I can't throw in the towel in, where I can't, where I have to make the choice of, okay, is this a scenario that I can disconnect from because of the toxicity, right? Is this a scenario to where if I stay here, it's going to kill my purpose? That's the using the same analogy of a marathon runner, right? If I am running the marathon on hot coals, maybe I need to switch tracks, right? Then maybe I need to stop and say, or if I'm running and I have the wrong shoes on, or if I need to make some adjustments, right? But if I have trained and I'm prepared and I'm pursuing my purpose and destiny, I get so far into it. And there's always going to be a moment where it's going to say, okay, life has happened. Now you got to make a choice. You keep going, or you do what's easy. It's easy to throw in the towel. It's easy to say, I'm tired. It's easy. That's why most people start off working out in the beginning of the year, and you got trainers and you got all of this, and it's, New Year's resolutions. Come March, so I'm gonna tell you, because I'm a gym rat. One of the most frustrating times is between January and April in the gym.
Come on, man, there ain't nobody in those gyms at that time. I know there is.
Everybody's in the gym, and here's the thing: I love it.
Yeah,
I love it, but it's starting something without having a plan to consistently carry it out, because it's so many times where we start these ideas, these dreams, these relationships, these businesses, but I don't have a strategy to sustain it. And so I get out here and I'm trying to figure it out. And when it doesn't work, I don't have a plan. I'm going off of, I'm a wing it. I'm going to just figure it out. Now that works in some areas, but you have to have a plan or some type of strategy to fall back on. And it's crazy because I've done some of these assessments, a lot of these assessments, think about your thinking style, your brain dominance, your DISC assessment, and I'm equally left and right brain, right? So I see things from a creative, fluidity. Let's just figure it out. Let's dream. But then I also very quickly get to a place where I say, but I need a plan for the vision. A lot of visionaries live in the vision, but then we need a plan of execution. Right. So getting to a place to where, and that's, on the business side, my company, we train and develop companies in terms of their diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging, their customer service, their infrastructure, their branding. And one of the main things I see is that people started an initiative without a plan. And you start it, and if you don't have a plan, you're going to hit that wall and you have nothing to fall back on.
Why is that? Why is it if we don't start with the plan, but we still get started, what is it about that process that you're going to hit the wall and quit?
Because there's always going to be a moment of difficulty that you can't prepare for. So the energy and I'm going to get started, that's great. You need that in order to get started. But if you don't take the time to then plan, when you reach that moment where it doesn't go your way, and it will happen, where it doesn't go as you anticipated or expected, you're going to hit that wall. And if you don't have something to fall back on and say, okay, this is how I got this far.
So is it, I'm an agreeable guy. You're a smart dude. You've written a book. I haven't. A lot of people come in here and have written books. But in that moment, isn't purpose more important?
It depends on the person. Because
every plan I've made.
Yes.
None of them have gone to plan, man.
Right.
I mean, every life plan every one that has any substance to it, every one of them.
Yeah.
Some have come closer, but none of them. And I just accept in the beginning, like, I'm going to make a plan to get me started. It's based upon the goals I have.
Mm-hmm.
But I know just the acceptance that I know it's not going to go to plan helps me.
Yeah.
And then if I'm so focused, me personally, on the purpose, like, man, why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
So many people talk about the why, but it's important. Like, what in my life do I need to have?
Yes.
What in my life do I need to do that if I don't keep going, I'm not going to have it?
Yeah.
So
both of them work hand in hand.
Okay.
So that's what I said. You need both. You need the energy, you need the desire, but you also have to have the discipline of the plan. Mm-hmm. Because at one point or the other, one of them is not going to go the way you want. Mm-hmm. You're not going to always feel it, but if you have the discipline, you'll keep going. And then if you get to that place where it's not working, then you have the will to push past it. So you need both in order to be successful. And you can start without one or the other, but you have to be strategic about establishing both. Because if I don't have a why and I don't have a plan and I get out here and do something, because a lot of times we do that. We get out and we start something because somebody said, this is what you're supposed to do. Oh, you're good at this. You need to do that. Oh, you're supposed to be this. You're supposed to be that. So then we start down these pathways without a why and without a plan. And then we get halfway down and realize, I always say, people say, if at first you don't succeed, try again. I always say, if at first you don't succeed, figure out if you were supposed to try in the first place. How am I supposed to know that this was the path I was supposed to go down? If I tried it and it didn't work, okay, and if I don't have a why that's pushing me and I don't have a plan of execution, am I really supposed to be down here? Does this even matter to me? Am I just existing?
Is that okay if you get there and you realize it isn't or doesn't?
Yeah, because everything, I think, when you go back to the evolution of life and knowing that there are always going to be ebbs and flows, and there's going to be mountains and valleys and ups and downs, but it's how you manage the downs that determine how long you stay up, right? So you get to the place of understanding that there's going to be moments. And one of the greatest things, I keep referencing the book, but one of the last chapters.
Books, man?
No, I'm trying to help people. One of the last chapters I talk about what I call the shooter's mentality, right? Stephen Curry is arguably the greatest shooter of all time, right? He can pull up from the parking lot. You got to guard him getting out of bed. I've seen that commercial. I love it. But what happens is I've seen nights where Steph Curry comes out and goes 3 for 30, but he keeps shooting because shooters shoot. And what happened, majority of times, people get into the aspect where they miss a shot, they miss another one, and they miss another one, and they stop shooting. The shooter's mentality is being able to quickly move on from my last miss. I missed that shot. That's okay. Because I believe I'm going to make the next one. And I missed 5 in a row. I missed 10 in a row. I missed 15. But I'm a shooter. Shooter, shoot. All I know is I got to hit one. Albert Einstein, 1,000 tries. Light bulb. All I know I messed up all of these times in the past, but I only have to get it right once.
So how important is it, though, to evaluate on those 27 misses if he's not doing something right?
So I think, too, you have to, if you've put the work in before the game, then you know your mechanisms, right? You have that's that plan to fall back on, right? He knows how to shoot. So if I'm not getting enough elevation, enough rotation on the ball, but I've put the work in to trust my shot, because a lot of people get into the game, but they haven't put the work in practice. So you get out here and you start shooting and you're missing because you haven't trained. You haven't had a plan. You haven't done the work. So we get out here and we're trying to make stuff happen on a grand scale. And, you know, I heard wise man once said that the time to be ready is not the time to get ready. You got to be ready when the time presents itself, because the opportunity of a lifetime only lasts within the lifetime of the opportunity. So getting to the place where I've trusted the work that I've put in. I know what I've done behind the scenes. That's how I have the confidence to keep shooting, because I know I've shot thousands of reps. I know how to shoot. So either I could be not, or I can make adjustments, but I keep continuing to shoot because I trust the work that I've put in. Mm-hmm. And most people get to that place where it's like, okay, I'm missing, but then at the same time, did I put the work in? Did I get out here and try to start this business without actually doing some accurate market research? Did I try to figure out what other people are doing in this space? Did I try to figure out who is thriving here and how can I learn? How can I grow? How can I develop? Or is it just, okay, I want to do that? Because that's one of the most dangerous things anybody could ever do, is to try to duplicate what someone else did or is doing because you want what they have. Because if you want what I have, or the platform that I'm on, or the opportunities that I have, then what you also have to want and desire is everything I had to go through. Because that shaped who I am for this opportunity.
Everybody's an overnight success, man.
Yeah. And what's funny is because they say, what's going to happen? You know, they say that you're overnight success. I'm going to say you're right, because I suffered over many nights. I planned over many nights. I am an overnight success because I heard something that Eric Thomas said today. I think it was yesterday.
He's kind of inspirational.
Yeah. And he said one of the things he said, you got to learn how to win in the dark before you can ever win in the light. So it's being in that space of knowing that, okay, I know that it may not happen the way that I desire for it to happen, but if I'm putting the work in the dark, I can trust what I'm going to do in the light.
How many times do you think, I know a story about sleeping on a park bench and get kicked out and then go back, all that stuff. How many times do you think a guy like that had to get in front of people, practice his speaking, get up on a stage, show up with 3 people in the room? How many times you think before he had his hit where he said, you got to want to win as much as you want to breathe?
Yeah.
Where he tells the story about the old man saying, hey, you want to succeed? Like, hey, meet me down at the ocean in the morning.
Yeah.
He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, if you want to, meet me at the ocean.
Yeah.
And he brings the kid out. I'm assuming it's a kid, right? He pulls him out in the ocean, and the guy's holding him underwater, trying to drown him.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's pissed, and he comes up, and he's like, "What are you trying to do?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "You gotta want to succeed as much as you want to breathe."
Yeah.
Like, because that thing for him, once he hit on that thing, the stages were opened up. How many? I wonder. That'd be a good question for him.
I would beg to say that he probably said that same thing thousands of times. It was just the right moment and the right time and the right person who heard it.
Mm-hmm. And he might have the right energy.
Absolutely.
Might have had the right connection.
It could be because, and that's what people get, like, they get discounted in, is because he had his why. It didn't matter. Because when you see people who are operating in on their highest level of potential, right? When you see a Tony Robbins, when you see Eric Thomas, when you see a Les Brown, when you see, Ed Milet, when you see all of these guys who are operating in that, they didn't develop that on that big stage. They developed in a small room.
Like a comedian, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you look at the years of being booed, of being talked about, of being discredited. I see all of these people who are thriving. I see the Kevin Hart's where he spent all of this time developing this talent, and as soon as he gets his big break, the people who he was once in connection with, they flip on him.
How many times you think he was made fun about being like 5'2"?
Oh, his whole life. His whole life. But he got to the point that he was able to say, I'm going to use this to my advantage. And most people don't get there as I'm going to use my situation to my advantage. I'm going to use what I've been through to my advantage, because literally I went through this evolution of understanding pain in a different way, right? We look at painful situations and we say, when people tell stories of, like, for instance, I had a stroke and I was paralyzed, they tell it from more so of from a defeated mindset, right? And it's, this time was so tough. It was so hard. And I thought that my life was over, and I felt like, nothing good was going to come out of it.
What do you want, attention?
Right. But it's getting to the place of understanding that the pain and the struggle and all of the things that you go through are developing the necessary tools for you to sustain the success that you desire to achieve. We see it from a different aspect of when I go to the gym and I got a trainer and I'm tearing my body down and I'm leaving out sore. I don't come out and I'll be like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. Well, sometimes I might, but I go back because I have an end goal, and I know that this pain means that there's growth. I know that this pain means that I'm getting stronger. I know when I'm tearing these muscles down and I can't lift my arms at the end of a workout, that means I had a great workout. If we had that same mindset to life, okay, this didn't work, but what did I learn? What are my takeaways? I don't waste anything. Any loss is only a loss if I don't extract anything from it. I feel like that your successes are actually not as prolific as your losses, because a success can be very singular focused, right? If you want a car and I buy you a Bentley, you're excited, right? You have a Bentley, you enjoy it, you asked for it, you got it. But if you had to walk 10 blocks, catch 3 buses and 2 trains to get to work every day, and you did it consistently without fail, knowing that, man, if I just had a car, this would be so much easier. But you did it. You did it, and you did it, and you did it. And then you get a Bentley. You have a different level of appreciation, because now you have a point of reference. I know what it's like to walk. So now I'm going to take care of my car. Now I'm be intentional. Now I'm going to protect what I have because I know what I went through. I know what it costs to get here. And most people, if you ask for it and you give it, you don't have appreciation for it. You see those people that don't change their oil, run your car into the ground because, it's just a car. My parents will give me another one. Oh, I'll get another one. It's okay. It's just a car. But to someone who walked 10 blocks, 3 buses and 2 trains, this is something completely different.
You trying to tell me I got to walk to school in the snow 7 miles? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, I'm not saying
that shit was over 3 generations ago, William.
I'm not saying that you have to, but I'm saying that
you're right, man.
If I did do that, I have a different appreciation for it. But a lot of people look at their 10 blocks and their three buses and 2 trains, and it's a pity story. And it's, oh man, I can't believe I had to go through that. And it's going back and looking at, okay, what did that develop in me? Okay, me walking 10 blocks every day, I got my cardio in. Look how strong my legs are, right? Look how aware of my surroundings I have to be, how punctual I have to be in order to be to this place, to catch this bus at this time, to make sure I don't miss this bus because I need to catch this bus to that bus. Everything works together. But we look at pain and difficult situations as, woe is me.
So what do we do with these people in the world that we look up to so much? Like, we can take, for an example, a Steve Harvey.
Yeah.
We can hear the guy talking about homeless living in his car.
Mm-hmm.
We can take a J.K. Rowling who had how many studios and how many people turned down her book, and she just kept asking.
Oh, yeah.
We can take the light bulb, and it was trying the incandescent light bulb, and had 10,000 attempts before it was figured out.
Mm-hmm.
We can take who's the producer in Atlanta? The guy
Tyler Perry.
Right. So him, and I saw a picture that he put out this week about he was sitting in a little Geo Metro.
Yep.
Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
With the convertible, and he's like, hey, this brings me back to think about when I was homeless living in my car.
Yeah.
It seems so far away.
Yeah.
And they've done this within a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
How can the average among us, me, you, how can we mentally even process that's possible? Because you want to be around positive people and not negative people.
Yeah.
How do we get there? Because my take is, man, if you're thinking that big,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if all those people were daily just trying to work towards that big of a goal. I bet most of them didn't know they were going to get there.
Yeah.
So how do we work that process? That's just 20 or 30 years they've done this.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're breathing the same air.
Mm-hmm.
They have the same 24 hours in their day.
Yep.
They had negative people around them. They probably had negative experiences growing up.
Absolutely.
Why the hell are me and you still sitting here and they're doing that shit?
Well, I think the difference is everything happens in the timing. This is go back to my faith. Everything happens to the timing it's supposed to happen for me, right? And if I keep comparison is the thief and the destroyer of confidence. So if I keep looking at your process, see, when I look at people like that, all it tells me is that it's possible.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yep. Like they ran a race and they won.
Absolutely.
So we need to use that as fuel. Like, okay, that's possible.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So looking at them to say, okay, they did it, so I can. But most people look at it and say, oh, they're there and I'm here. And we are too far from being connected or being the same. And it's not ever me trying to be the same as anybody. It's me being able to run my race effectively. The difference in what I did and what they did maybe was their dream and their process and their goal and just their ability to not give up on them. You got to be the one who is deciding not to give up on you, that no matter what, I got all chips in.
Every day.
Every day. All money in. I'm betting on it every single day. And you get to that place to where I can't sleep if I haven't worked on it or if I haven't pushed towards it. Or when you get to that place where you want it bad enough as you want to breathe, you start seeing changes. And people say, well, I can't because I work a 9 to 5 and I got kids and if you want it bad enough, are you willing to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do the work? Because I totally agree to the aspect of I can't want it for you. You got to want it for yourself. You got to get to the place to where you say, you know what? I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
No matter what.
No matter what. No matter how many no's, no matter what people say, no matter how many times I get to the place where I keep hitting that wall, I got to believe that it's something on the other side of this wall. If I hit this wall and I don't think there's nothing back there, I'll turn around. But when I get to that place where I say, there is something on the other side of this wall and I'm going to get to it by hell or high water, I don't care if I got to get a sledgehammer. I don't care if I got to get a shovel, if I got to get a grappling hook, if I got to walk 10 miles around the side of this, I'm going to get around this wall.
Therefore, reading the right books, watching the right videos on
Absolutely.
YouTube, surround yourself with the right people,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's because I think if we make it feel too big,
Yeah.
man, it's tough to even get started.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found in my life was, man, just get up and take some action today.
Yeah.
Like, just get up today and do something that looks like the thing you want to be doing.
Absolutely.
Right? And that whole 1%, just get 1% better every day.
Yeah.
That seems so small,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm all in on it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because if things compound like they do,
Mm-hmm.
man, if you when people are like, well, man, in 30 days, I'm going to get 1% better. And no. You're not going to be 30% better.
Yeah.
Compound that. If I'm 100% of who I am and tomorrow I'm 101,
Mm-hmm.
the next day I'm 101 times the 0.1, so I'm 102 point something. You're
Yeah.
going to get to 30 days.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be like 250% better.
Come on.
Right? And all that is focused on, man, let me just do my thing today.
It's a snowball effect. I just got to push it down the hill. The snowball is going to do the work.
Did you build a good snowman back in the day?
I did. I built a really good one. There's a picture that we were young, and it was 3-tiered. It was a big old head. It was We did our thing.
Poor like me.
Yeah, we did.
What'd you use
but everybody got
you didn't
snow.
have any carrots.
Huh?
What'd you use for the nose? Because you didn't have any carrots.
No, we didn't have carrots.
Okay. I'm
Yeah,
making sure.
so it was just like little circles that we drew.
So there is. Did somebody special and famous write the foreword of the book?
Yeah, so a mentor and friend of mine, Les Brown, wrote the foreword, and ironically, that's the importance of exposure. I got into a room that wasn't even my meeting, and I got into the room, and just being in the right room, he looked and said, "What you do? Tell me a little bit about you." We started talking, and he found out I had a book, and he was like, let's. And he started just pouring, and it started just flowing, and we just had this natural connection and relationship. And then, come to find out, we just started growing and developing. And I was doing the book, and he was saying, "You know what? You send it to me. I want to do you forward." And I was like, "Absolutely, this is the legend." So
what is it? Shoot for the moon. Because if you miss,
you'll land on the stars.
Right?
Yeah. And this latest, you got to be hungry. You got to be hungry.
Man, he's been standing on stage for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I played that in sales meetings.
Yeah.
And then when he says it, it's like that dude needs 2 Big Macs on stage right now because he's hungry.
Yes.
I mean, when he says it.
Yes.
That intensity.
Yeah. You got to be hungry.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of interrupted the story, but you found yourself in a room.
Yeah.
Was that a virtual room? Was it a physical room?
Physical room. Yeah. So I was at a meeting for there was being a pitch for a television show. So I'm heavy in the arts, right? So I'm a musician, I'm an actor, singer songwriter. So I do a lot of things. Funny story. I digress for a moment, and I sort of approach this with life. Is 2 pivotal moments that shaped how I approach everything. One is I went and saw this jazz musician, and I sat down with him afterwards, and I was just telling him how great his set was, and he said, "So are you a musician?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What do you play?" At the time, I would play sax. I said, "Well, I play saxophone." He said, "Well, you're a saxophonist." I said, "What you mean?" He said, "When you're a musician, you can sit down at multiple instruments and make music." And it shifted something in me, and it was like, all right, I got to do more. Because if I want to be in the rooms, I got to be able to sit down and make music. I got to be able to step in and accomplish what I need to accomplish by any means necessary. So then I sat down with this. I used to do this thing because I'm a glutton for wisdom, right? So I would reach out to the wealthiest in the city. "Hey, can I just take you to lunch? I want to take you to lunch." And surprisingly, so many people would be like, "Yeah, absolutely," because they want to give the knowledge away, but people don't ask. And I sat down with this billionaire one time. And he told me, he said, "Moguls don't think either or. They think both and." And literally something shifted in me. It was like, okay, I don't have to be this or that. I can be both of these and then some. And when you have that freedom to know that I can be everything that I'm supposed to be from a totality perspective, it shifts everything in your life. Because so many people try to say that you only can be this or you only can be that. But then when you're giving all of yourself to this, there's a part of you that's still craving. And then you have that place where you aren't tapping into fulfillment. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing, but there's a piece of you that's still crying out. So back to the story. So I'm in a room, and I actually tried to talk myself out of the room. That's not my meeting. This has nothing to do with me. It was like, "No, you need to be in the room." And I said, "Nah, I don't know." But I started to say, okay, cool. If I'm supposed to be in the room, I'm be in the room. And I just came and sat down. I was just going to sit down at the table and just be a fly on the wall. And being in the right atmosphere, things happen. Because if I would have talked myself and consistently said, "No, I'm not coming," I would have missed an opportunity. And so many people miss opportunities because we keep talking ourselves out of it. Like for years, I had a habitual.
Now we're calling them imposter syndromes. You were an imposter before you even had to have the imposter syndrome. You're like, I don't belong there, man. Like, I'm not worthy. Yeah.
Yeah. I was a habitual self-sabotager, and I was always basing my ability to thrive in the next space
based on who you are now,
based on my current space. And so where I am doesn't look like where I want to be. So maybe that's not it. Maybe, I don't know. And the more I said it, the more I believed it. And I would talk myself out of it. So I had to start changing my words. And I had to literally start saying things that didn't even align with anything of my current reality.
But there was someone that convinced you to go to the room. You don't have to say who it was, but that's this network about the people around you, man.
Absolutely.
Whoever it was, could have been somebody that wanted to be your agent. Could have been someone that just said, yeah, man, saw something in you.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So you're there.
Yeah. And I'm sitting at the table, and he literally hijacks the entire meeting and just was talking to me and just pouring into me. The entire meeting. He never even talked about what he came there to talk about. He spent the entire meeting, about 2 hours. It's a table full of people.
I was going to say, how many people? 8 or 10?
It was about 10 people at the table.
In a round table?
It was a long rectangular table.
Okay.
And he literally spent the whole time talking to me. I was just like, you just this and that, and affirming all of these things and just speaking into me and pouring into me. And
he saw something.
Yeah.
He saw something, because here's what he saw. He made an evaluation. See, I think when you're around people like that,
yeah,
he has an intuition that he's formed over the years.
Yeah.
He can form a conclusion in a moment.
Absolutely.
And he's not wrong often, I guarantee it.
Absolutely.
And so whatever it was, how you walked into the room, how you sat down, he might have heard you say your name to someone else. It could have been the confidence in the voice.
Yeah.
Something about that said, everyone can learn something from my one-on-one with this guy.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to insult everybody, but I'm going to waste a lot of time hanging out with everybody else.
Yeah.
And he made that
split second.
in a split second.
Yep.
You feel the same thing?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But if I had never decided to say yes to the room because I saw my current situation, I would have missed the opportunity of a lifetime.
So he wrote the foreword in your book.
Yep.
How many forewords do you think he's written of books?
Did
you have to pay for it?
I didn't have to pay for it.
Okay,
no.
good. All right.
Yeah, so no, he did it just off of pure love, a relationship. But he doesn't do it often. He doesn't do it often. He's very particular about what he puts his stamp on, because he realizes that his name and his legacy means everything. So he's very strategic about it. And, he definitely is intentional about what he gives his time and energy to.
So what I found about those billionaires is they have an expectation that this thing they're giving you, it doesn't come free.
Mm-hmm.
One of them told me that one time.
Yeah.
They're like, you're not getting out of this free.
Yeah.
And I snapped back on him, and I'm like, what? He said, no, there's obligation.
Yeah.
So I bet there's a sense of obligation that he puts on your shoulders.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, man, what are you going to do with this?
Mm-hmm.
I gave you my time. All right. I wrote a foreword for your book.
Yep.
What are you going to do? Does he talk to you that way?
Yeah. So he's one of those, every time I talk to Les, he always challenges you to look towards the future. Where are you? What are you doing? Could you be doing more? Why aren't you this? And he always tells me all the time when I talk to him, he said, man, that title, just that title alone, that should be a #1 New York Times bestseller. I'm like, I know, Les, I'm working towards it. He's like, you just don't give up on it. You got to keep going. You got to keep pushing. Like, it's not going to be easy, because people aren't given, like, I'm self-published. Like, I had to figure it all out. I didn't even start out trying to write a book.
Yeah, what happened?
So, I am a lover of language, and one of the things that I found therapeutic was just writing or journaling. But when I'm super overwhelmed or I got too much going on, it's hard for me to get it out. So one day I just started writing, stuff started flowing, just ideas and thoughts. But, my right brain then says, okay, but I need a format. Like I can't just free write. Like it needs some structure to it, right? So I'm writing, okay, well, this thought goes with this thought, this thought goes with this thought. And then the more I kept going, and the more it just kept flowing, I looked up one day and it was like, this is kind of looking like a book. This is a lot. Like this isn't just your normal journal entries. This is like some real meaty, type of situation. And how things sort of come to me is sort of in a different aspect because I'm a lover of language, right? Like I love Shakespeare. Like I used to go see, there's this a spot called the Shakespeare Tavern, and I would go watch them do plays. And, I love language. I've always been a person who enjoys how people communicate. So I develop things a different way, like I don't just write, just freehand. Like most people write books, how they talk. I write from a standpoint of how I want it to sound. And that's with anything. So I came up, and I looked up one day and it was just like, man, this is like a whole book or something. And I was like, okay, cool. But it took me like over a year to write it because I wasn't intentional on writing a book. It was just when stuff came to me, I would go back to it. And then it compiled and compiled and compiled. And then next thing you know, I had a manuscript. And it was like, wow. This is an actual book. What do I do with it? So I had to figure it out. I had to figure out like how to get your cover made, how to get, everything, copywritten, how to, get your ISBN number, how to get it published, how to get your, the copies made and, the print and distribution and, print on demand, and I had to figure it all out, and it was just one of those things that just sort of evolved. But that's the aspect of when I say the painful situations of learning the lessons, right? Like if I just wrote a book and then I said, hey, I got a book, and somebody said, cool, we'll publish it, I wouldn't have learned all of that stuff of how to do it, when to do it. And I like to be able to go into anything that I'm doing, whether it's business, whether it's, music, whether it's arts, whether it's acting, whether it's writing, whether it's developing anything. I like to be able to go in and know what I'm doing in all aspects, because then I can sort of have an idea. Even if I'm not doing it, I want to know how you do what you do so that I'm never caught off guard by anything.
So you're still a guy who takes action too. That's a rare combination, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when I meet people like you, sometimes work for the company that I operate, I'm trying to help them grow.
Yeah.
They're either a studier and learner,
mm-hmm.
and they never get started because there's something inside of them that never feels like they're ready to go.
Yeah.
That's so frustrating to me.
Yeah.
Or there's someone who doesn't put the time in to study, and they just go out flailing.
Mm-hmm.
If they keep going, that person will go further than the one that never gets started.
Absolutely.
But you're combining your left and right brain stuff again.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I feel like all that is born within the confines of my trauma or my history or my situations, knowing that it's such a benefit of both. Like when you realize how fleeting moments are, you get to the place where you want to maximize them to the highest level. And me maximizing it is, one, being prepared for it, and two, going after it. So it doesn't matter if I'm prepared. It doesn't matter if I've, put the work in behind the scenes if I never step out on the stage. But each one go hand in hand, because I can't squander the stage because I haven't been prepared or preparing in the dark. And I can also be so prepared in the dark that I let my fear prevent me from stepping out on stage.
So how do we find courage in the face of fear? Because guys like me and you,
yeah,
we still feel fear at times.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So how can we help people to translate this idea of finding courage?
Yeah. So I feel like that fear gets a misnomer, or it gets mislabeled or misrepresented. I feel like fear can be healthy in a lot of areas, right? When you have a healthy dose of fear of missing or losing something that's valuable to you, you treat it different, right? When you have a healthy dose of fear, you don't get complacency and you don't give a lackluster effort. When you're super overly confident and there's not anything in the back of your mind to say, okay, if I'm not really, really, really ready, this could go wrong, then you get out there and you try to, Kevin Durant said, hard work beats talent because talent doesn't work hard. So getting to that space of knowing that you can be as talented in the world, but if I don't put the work in and if I'm not ready for it, like that fear is always going to be there. So if I shift my perspective on it first to say, okay, if I stop allowing it to cripple me, because it's a choice. And that's the thing that people don't understand is that the way that you control your thoughts on it is by how you speak about it. Right. So that goes back to it. So if I'm afraid, and you hear people like, even you go down to children, you think it's a boogeyman under the bed, and you go into the room, you check, it says nothing under the bed. Yes, it is. No, it's not. It's nothing under the bed. And then if you get a kid and they hear noise and there's nothing under my bed, it's nothing under my bed, it's nothing under my bed, because they're talking themselves, they're psyching themselves up, right? It's always going to be a fear there. But you have to know that first, whatever my fear is, I have to be able to face it and replace it. I can't do anything if I'm running from fear. I got to run towards fear. Every soldier who goes into battle, there's a high propensity that there's a fear there, but I'm running into it. Because one, either I have a why that supersedes the fear. But even if I don't, I got to get to the place where I know that whatever I'm afraid of, if I just run completely into it, the propensity is I'm going to come out successful on the other side.
But they say defense wins championships.
Defense wins championship, but you still got to score to win. You can play great defense, and if you don't score any buckets, you're still going to lose the game. A defensive-minded team has a different approach, but I still got to put something on the scoreboard. Because if not, they're going to say, hey, this team they played lockdown defense the entire game, didn't score one bucket, and lost the game.
Lost 1-0.
1-0 off of a free throw.
I mean, that was a hell of a defensive effort, though.
Yeah, it's a great defensive effort. Well, they say defense wins championships. You got to score to win, though.
So even if I'm already successful,
yeah,
you believe you can make me iconic.
Absolutely.
Why?
Because there's a space called more for everyone. No matter where you are, there's a space called more. And when you get to that place where you stop giving into that idea that this is enough, and then you start settling, and here's the thing. Whenever you start settling, you instantly start deteriorating because everything is progressive. Time doesn't stop for anyone. Time will continue to change. If you get to a place to where you say, and I've seen businesses crumble because they've reached a place and said, we're good here. And then the market changes and they aren't able to change with the market because we're good here. This is what we do. We do this well. We're good here, right? I've seen even the aspect of, for instance, we'll take customer service at fast food restaurants, right? I've seen how the implementation of a Chick-fil-A elevated the entire market of fast food restaurants. Now, before Chick-fil-A and the experience and how people feel when you go through the lines and all that, they were good with doing what they did. But boom, you input somebody who's doing it at a higher level and you got a choice. Am I going to continue to progress? Am I going to continue to go after more? Or am I good here? Like, that's the difference between semi-successful people and ultra-successful people. Now, if where you are or the level that you're on is good for you, then that's okay.
How do we know it's good for us if we're really being honest? How would you, if it was a friend or a family member, right? Because I got blue-collar people in my family.
Absolutely.
Right, that are grinding away.
Yep.
And I wish they lived a better life.
Yes.
But how do I know to leave well enough alone?
Yeah.
Because there's a chance they're happier than me.
Absolutely.
Because I'm in the midst of the grind.
Yep.
So how do we know, how does someone know that it's okay that that's enough?
Yeah. So everybody's good has to be defined by that person. So in order to get to the place where, going back to the analogy of the trainer, in order to get to the place where you start working on yourself in a different light, you have to first show up at the gym, right? We can't do anything if you don't show up. So if you are okay with where you are and there's no need for you to show up, then that's fine. It's not me trying to superimpose this idea that you need more, right? But I present the opportunity and the possibility for more for everybody.
But you know what we know about those deep thoughts in every human, I think?
Yeah.
I think we all want more.
Absolutely.
We want a better life.
Yep.
Even if it's only one more level.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever been around more people than I can count on one hand that is okay with the status quo of the rest of this life. I have somebody really close to me and really special that's their life. They check the boxes. But that's rare. Almost everyone I'm around, if they're really having those deep thoughts and conversations, they want a better life.
Absolutely.
Right.
And better is not necessarily more money or more success. Better could be, I always wanted to play the guitar. Never learned it. Better could be, I always wanted to open up a yogurt stand, or I always wanted to make the clothing, or finding that space of more, because success does not equal fulfillment. You can get to a place where you have extreme success. I've seen where millionaires and billionaires commit suicide. If success was the answer, they'd be good. But people are literally taking their lives, divorcing, giving up, throwing in the towel at an alarming rate, because you reach what you call this mountaintop, and you realize that wasn't the mountain that you really wanted to be climbing. So you got up here and everybody's looking at you up there and they're like, wow, this is so awesome. You did so great. But you can only survive on the applause of people for so long until you realize that that's not filling the void. So there's a space called more, I think, for everyone. And you could be happy with your job. You could be happy with your life, but there's something, because we're natural. That's the natural growth aspect, is nothing in our lives stays the same. And as you grow, your desires change. As you get older, as you mature, as you are exposed to more, like you could be completely good with your life until you got around a different energy and atmosphere. You could be completely good with eating a certain type of food until you got exposed to a different palate. And then it's like, wow, that tastes so much better. And I never knew. So getting to this place to where you can be as successful as you want to be, but the difference in being successful and iconic is you never settle for success, because there's more for me. I can open up the doors. I can open up the windows to possibility, because it's limitless. Because now, okay, I've reached a level of success. Okay, cool. Now, my place of more could be training up the next generation. My place of more could be implementing things for generational wealth. My place of more could be making sure that the people who went through some of the things that I went through never have to go through those things. There's a place of more for everybody. My business could be to this place and we could be rocking and rolling, but I could, the ideal, the possibility of branching out or franchising or being publicly traded maybe have never crossed my mind, because I've never been exposed to that. Like, the more could be getting to such a place of financial freedom or success that I don't have to work, that I can spend time with my family, because that's my more. So it's I feel like there's a place called more for everybody. And, you know, I take different clients in the training through it's an acronym breakdown of how you can really get to that place where you're maximizing it in a different light. Because I never look at anything as I've arrived. I don't look at it in my marriage. I don't look at it as a parent. I don't look at it as a business owner. I don't look at it as a coach. I don't look at it as there's never a moment where I'm going to feel like I have arrived. Because if I ever reach that point, I stop working. And if I stop working, I start deteriorating. Life is a constant uphill battle, an uphill pedal. And if you know anything about the bikes, as soon as I stop pedaling, I'm rolling backwards. So it's being committed to say, okay, I'm going to enjoy this journey, but I can't just get complacent. Even if I get to a place, I'll get to a point of the hill where there's a plateau. It's a good lookout spot. This looks great. This is comfortable. But there's more. And having that consistent, that mindset and that energy of knowing that there is still more to be done. There's still more that I can accomplish. And if I am not fully fulfilled, I'm trying to think. If I've met people who are operating in a purpose and who love what they do and they draw fulfillment of it. But there are pieces where it's like, I wish I could have did this. Oh, if I could do this though, this will really put the icing on the cake. You know, we get comfortable with the cake because it's sweet, it's big, everybody loves it, and we don't think that I can get the icing. And then if we get the icing, we don't think that I can have the sprinkles. And then we get to that imposter syndrome where you get to this place where you feel like either you start self-sabotaging from a standpoint of I can't have that, or you start self-sabotaging by saying, well, this is enough. Oh, well, this is good. Most people don't get here. You know, this is farther than anybody in my family has ever gone. And that mindset starts getting you to the point where you start saying, you know, I think this is okay. I think this is okay.
Do you think you'll ever be at a place in life? Let's say you've we didn't talk about if money's important.
Yeah.
But whatever that is. Let's say financial freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Your son's set.
Yeah.
The people you really care about, they don't have to worry about anymore.
Yeah.
And you get to this place where, you know, see, because Emmett Smith tells us that you can appreciate the success.
Yeah.
But he said only for like a second.
Yeah.
Is it okay if we get to a place in life where that lasts for longer than a second?
Yeah. I feel like that celebration is necessary. Being able to relish in the moment. I feel like that you can hit a space where you're in a good season and it feels good and you're just enjoying it and you're riding the wave. I feel like that's okay, right? That you're taking time to be intentional about, because you can be so success driven, so more driven that you're missing the moment. And, you know, I was one of those who had a hard time celebrating the small wins because it wasn't big enough. You know, it was like, okay, well, this happened. And everybody was like, oh, my God, this is great. And I'm like, it's all right. And be like, why? It's not big enough. And I realized because I had this over obsession with time and over obsession with opportunity that I always gauged it from a level of there's more from an unhealthy perspective. I could know that there's more and be in pursuit to more, but also be appreciative of the now. To say, this is great, this is a win. Let me pause for a moment. Because people who are super successful, like I think about the people who get obsessed with their skill, right? Like the Michael Jordans and, you know, God rest his soul, the Kobe Bryants, who became obsessed, right? And all they did was this one thing. And while they ended up being noted as one of the greatest, they missed out on a lot of other things they could have been privy to. And I feel like there's a healthy obsession, but time is the only thing that we don't get back. So as I'm chasing more and understanding that there's more, I need to be cognizant of the fact that now is a gift.
Let me push back a little bit on that.
Yep.
Even though Kobe didn't live a full life,
Mm-hmm.
the way that we see as humans, Michael Jordan is.
Yeah.
About to make $1 billion or $2 billion, I think, here.
Yeah.
Selling that NBA team. But how much time did they get to buy back, though, because of their massive success?
So you don't get to buy back time. You just get to now maximize the time you have left. You don't get birthdays back. You don't get recitals back. You don't get family vacations and picnics back. You don't get those moments. Time is the only thing that we don't get back. So while I can maximize the time, right, and I do see the value in let me grind it out now so we can play later, at the same time, coming from someone who knows that life could end like that. If I'm doing nothing but grinding, and then my life ends, was it worth it?
Depends on the impacts we made.
It depends on the impacts we made, and it depends on the people who are along with us on the journey. Because our legacy is a story that's told after we're gone. So you want to be noted as one of the greats and the greatest of all time, but at the same time, it's funny how you've seen such a shift in after Kobe retired. And it was instantly like, wow, this is fulfillment. My family, seeing my daughters and coaching them and being there with my family. Like there's things, and it's evolution, and everybody has their own process, right? But there is so much to be said about not wasting moments, but also preparing for the next moment. And it's the balance of how do you do that in concert? How can I be present here, but also looking there? How can I be in a space where I know that this moment is the gift? And it's constantly reminding yourself. It's that attitude of gratitude when I wake up and understand, okay, I'm about to get after it. But man, like when I get to wake up and I can ball a fist, it's like, man, I'm already winning. Everything else is an add-on.
Can you reflect back in an honest way? I don't even know if it's healthy to ask you to do it. But let's say in 2000, that stroke didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Can you now, how intuitive and reflective and intelligent your brain and how it works, can you look back at the William in 2000?
Absolutely.
And now project where he would have ended up without that?
Yeah. I would have been the talented one who didn't work hard. Things came easy to me. So I would have had a level of success, and I would have reached a level of accomplishment, but it wouldn't be to the height of my possibility, because I still would have been able to do or get by, right? I've been naturally gifted with some qualities and characteristics that make it easy for me to get by. And that was the danger, is that even my getting by, I still could, quote unquote, do well, right? There was 11th grade, ironically. Economics was my first class in the morning, and it was just so early. I hated getting up that early. I hated it. And in the 11th grade, I think when the semester was over, I had like 60-something absences and had a 94 in the class.
That's so wrong.
So that's what I'm saying is the difficulty in that was when you have the people who are naturally gifted, you can get complacent in your gifting and still not maximize your life. And if it wasn't for that hit the wall moment where everything comes crashing down, where now it shifts my entire perspective, I'm not who I am today. And that's why I can look back on everything and be grateful.
So how could you tell that William in 2000 without having this experience that there's people that go through what you went through
Mm-hmm.
and they do die?
Yeah.
That's why they thought it. See, those doctors have seen that before.
Yep.
That's how they're like, yeah, today, this one ain't looking good.
Mm-hmm.
So think of all the people that didn't get your shot.
Yep.
How do we get to them early?
Like I said, I think that, one, you have to be intentional. I think the greatest thing that parents can do is expose their kids early. Expose them to different cultures, different climates, different atmospheres, different ideas, like putting them in different situations and seeing how they respond. If I'm not exposed, if I don't have the lived experience or the learned experience, then I'm really at the mercy of however life flows. So in order to get to a place without having to have that traumatic event, I got to expose you to the possibility of that there's more, that that you could be good at what you're doing and you could be semi-successful, but with just a little more work and a little more effort and being able to surround yourself with people who can extract that out of you. That's the benefit of being a coach, is being able to see things in people like Les Brown did in me that I couldn't see, that they can't see, because all you see is the forest and you can't see the forest from the trees. You all you see is the trees that's in front of you, and you don't know exactly the magnitude of everything that's locked on the inside of you. That's my more, is being able to find those people who were me and unlock it early. Because if I can unlock it early, I may save you some of that. Because if you get to that place where I'm constantly surrounding myself and including people in my journey who have the ability and the propensity to cultivate the version of me that aligns with my future and my destiny, I have such a higher level of success. There's statistics about babies, who are unloved, in the first months and weeks and years of their life, and the tendency is they die. I watched this reel where there was a guy who says, there's this exercise you can do with white rice. You boil white rice and you put 2 jars. And on one of the jar, you label it with love, and the other one, you label it with hate. And each morning, it's a great activity to do with kids. You come down and you say 3 love affirmations to the one that says love, and 3 affirmations to the one that says hate. And eventually, over time, something happens. Literally. And people have done it time and time and time and time again. The ones that you speak love to, you're beautiful, you're intelligent, you're gifted. The ones you're disgusting, you're ignorant, you're stupid. The ones who you speak negative words to, because your words carry power, it starts to turn brown and moldy. But the ones you speak life to somehow stays white, pure and vibrant. So if I can put you in an atmosphere where I'm cultivating that from a young age, if I'm consistently, one of the things we do with our son is that at the end of the night before bed, we do affirmations. And we get up and you say things, and you declare things over your life. You speak it, because those are the last things that you're going to go to bed with. And you're going to be thinking that. You're going to wake up with that energy. And so you got to be in a space where if it's not that situation or your lived experience, I got to find out a way to expose you. I got to get you around the right people. I got to see the type of conversations that you have. And I got to guard what I allow in, right? I can't, if I have an issue with relationships, I can't continuously watch The Bachelor or, Love is Blind, or all of these things that are projecting these images of how easy it is to move on from one to another, right? I need to be putting things in front of me. If I have an issue with time, or if I have an issue with my self-confidence, then I need to be listening to things. I need to be watching things. I need to be cultivating that within me. And if I can't do it for me, I got to have somebody around me who can do it for me, who can expose me. But it all goes back to that exposure. How much of what we're exposing our kids to is based on culture, climate, and our circumstances versus what I see in you, what I identify, and what is going to set you up for success.
I think a part of your book probably touches on brand a little bit too. Does it?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your brand?
So I build people, and that's on both sides. So from a business side, I build executives, every level of employee to senior executives, CEOs. I build people who build products. On the, I call it the secular side, or that's why I do my life coach and motivational speaker. I'm an author. I build people who build successful lives. I'm a people builder. I'm a people builder and a purpose pusher.
Okay. Is how much of the daily decisions you make, the intentional things you do, how much of those are reinforced by what your brand needs to be, what you're trying to show the world, who you are? Is it always on your mind?
Yes. Because I always see the 1999 me versus the 2000 me. I always see someone who has the ability but just needs the exposure or the right opportunity or someone to believe in them. Like, I know what it's like to be in a space where you consistently talk yourself out of, and you down talk yourself, and you're not worthy, and that's not for you, and I've lived in that space. So I know what it's like to come from that space and come out of that space, and now I'm dedicating to make sure that people are able to either, one, never get to that space or come out of that space effectively. And that's in everything, like, because we get to that place even in business. I've gone in so many companies and some of these major organizations, Fortune 500 companies that I've worked with and done training and curriculum and development for, is you see people who get into this space. One of the things that I teach companies is how employees have what I call the exclusion response, where you come in on a high, and then most people don't see when they start to withdraw, where it's a slow decline, where the energy begins to shift. And first you come in and you're excited. How do you maintain that? How do you cultivate that? How do you cultivate vision and ideas that keep you progressive and keep you ahead of the curve? You got to keep challenging yourself. And I am one of those who consistently will challenge myself, because I feel like there's more, because I always see me, and I try to be the opportunity or the thing that I know that I needed in that season. So I build people from all aspects. Like, one of the things that I created is a 21-day purpose plan, right? Where it takes people through 21 days. It's 21 days to develop a habit. You give me 21 days, I will literally change your mindset. I'll change how you see life. I'll change how you see relationships. I'll change how you see opportunities. We'll go through this 21 days. And it will literally shift your perspective. But what happens is most people start to do day 1, day 2, day 3, and then they'll skip a few days. And then we lose that momentum. And then what happens is we think that, okay, I missed 2 days, let me just pick up on day 7. And now we've lost everything that we were trying to build. So get into that space where knowing that the thing that's always on my mind is there's always somebody who needs somebody. And my goal is to be that somebody for as many somebodies as possible.
That's a pretty good brand. and I guess if enough of the world knows about it, they're going to let you be their somebody, I guess, man, I guess. That's funny, I had that down here, I had purpose and brand. But what I loved about this conversation is that I always come into every podcast with a little bit of research, enough to be like, you know what, just in case it's not going well, what do we need to talk about? Yeah. I love when the boxes are checked from the notes that I have without having to go to them.
Come on.
And why 21 days, though? Why it's 21 days to create a habit?
Because 21 days, you've gone through the realm of consistency of all of the gamut of emotions, right? Because that first week is the excitement. That first week is just, okay, this is my New Year's resolution. Okay, this is a great opportunity. Let me jump in. And you don't even settle in really to that second week. And you start to see things, and you start to identify, and you start to unpack. And then you don't even start to process to that third week. So you got that first week is excitement. That second week is you settling in. The third week is you're processing. And after you process, then you make a decision. So if we get to that place where we ride the wave of the excitement, right? And we settle in on the fact that you could actually live in this perpetual state forever, and then you process that effectively, then you make the decision to commit to what you started to.
If 21 days with William changes your life, that's an awful cheap amount that you charge him to go through that with.
Yeah,
what is that, like $350 or something? What is that, huh?
So here's my thing. My thing is I want to make it accessible, because this goes back to me seeing me, right? Like, there were times where I wanted to do it and didn't have it. Or, for somebody who's on the brink, $350 could break the bank, right? So I look at it from the standpoint of, I'm not trying to get rich off of you, but I do know that it takes a level of investment for you to stay committed to it. That's why they charge gym memberships. Because if you And even if you see, I see a lot of people who pay the lower fee membership and they don't go. It's just $10, right? But when you get to that place where you actually are invested, it keeps you having to come back because I got to have some type of return on my investment. But at the same time, I really do want you to win because it's not about money. This is about my why is making sure that people get to tap into their purpose. And I want you to win on every aspect of your life. I want you to live an iconic life in every aspect. I want your family to thrive. I want your businesses to thrive. I want you to thrive in your mental, in your emotional, in your spiritual, in your physical. It's my desire. It's a driving force of mine. So yeah, I could tack it up. It could be very high ticket. We could really break the bank, and but at the end of the day, then am I only targeting the people who live on the mountain? What about the people in the valley? So let's make it to where everybody can get in. How can we all get to a place where we can all come to the table? Because the people on the mountaintop who may feel like, okay, I'm grateful for the car, need it. But the people who had to walk 10 blocks, 3 buses, 2 trains, that's revolutionary.
That's the ones you want it for.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not satisfying at nearly the high level to help the people up on the mountain.
Absolutely.
It's just not.
Yeah.
Like, you'll help them.
Yeah.
But their life's already kind of okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say to this too, is because I get the same passion out of them, helping them and pouring into them, because we go through the process of evolution and understanding that I thought I was good and realized that I've been approaching life, even though deemed successful, but empty. So being able to have that light bulb moment is just as impactful. I love seeing the people, the underdogs, being able to thrive and to grow, and to ones who had to walk the 10 blocks. But when you realize that you were sitting on this mountaintop, and this mountaintop that you thought was going to bring you fulfillment actually has done the exact opposite. When we unlock that, and that's the eureka moment, I live for it.
Anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
All right, so when life happens,
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about a lot of things, but when you break it down, when life happens, what are we supposed to do?
When life happens, you have to have a commitment that no matter what happens, no matter what season, no matter what turmoil, no matter what test, no matter what trial, no matter who leaves, no matter who walks away, you got to have a commitment to the fact that throwing in the towel is not an option. My persistence, my discipline will override even the aspect of when my desire fades or when situations begin to crumble and deteriorate. I got to have a commitment that throwing in the towel is not an option. Life is going to happen. If I'm proactively preparing for it, the only thing that I can control is the fact that I am committed to the process. And I refuse to throw in the towel. I'm in too deep.
Where the heck do we go and get us some more?
You can go, man. My website is www.theofficialwilliamjackson.com. My Instagram is @theofficialwilliamjackson. You can literally just search even on YouTube and LinkedIn, really fostering an aspect of developing more of a YouTube presence. But yeah, man, go to my website. I'm actually, for those who click in and subscribe and send me a message, say, hey, I saw you on The Necessary Entrepreneur, I'm going to give away 2 books. So for people who want to jump in on the process, and the 21-day purpose plan is on the website right now. You can actually go in and it's a self-guided. You get 21 modules. Well, actually you get 23 because you get the intro and the outro, but then you also get an e-journal with it. So it gives you guided processes and things that you need to do as a daily exercise. So I'll give you a free one. One of them is one of the days is you have to clear your space, right? Making your space suitable for what you're about to create and establish and develop. You can't create or develop or establish healthy practices with clutter and toxicity. So it teaches you, okay, today's activity, this is how you clear your space. This is how you clear it. This is what you need to remove. This is what you need to do. Do this, journal this, write this down, take a picture of it. Like it's steps that actually takes you, because getting the information without application then leads you in a place where you just continuously repeated the cycles. We're in this state of constant information. It's at your fingertips. People watch videos all the time, but if you don't apply it, it never clicks, right? So getting to this place where you understand, I got to clear my space. I got to figure out, how do I get rid of some of the clutter, because I can't even see the possibility for success because I'm surrounded by too much junk. How can I get rid of the junk so that we can build effectively?
So where do we get the book? On your website as well?
Yes, it's on my website as well. You just go to www.theofficialwilliamjackson.com. It's the first thing you'll see. You actually can click on that and order it. If you want a special order where I'll sign the copy, you can send me a message and we can orchestrate that too as well.
What about, is there any chance it's on Amazon/Audible? Did you do that or no?
Yeah, so I have it actually. It's on Book Baby,
okay.
Where it's print on demand. And one of the reasons why I went that way is because the market share for self-publishers, they literally slash your prices like you're getting pennies on the dollar. So, taking that bet on me and say, I'm going to go this way. And, that was definitely the better business move. But yeah, it's on my website. It's available, and you can click that link, and it sends you the same process.
And if you mention the podcast,
yes,
you're going to do a drawing for 2 books.
I'm going to give away 2 books. So you got to subscribe to the website,
okay,
and send a message to me, okay, on the site that says, hey, I saw you on The Necessary Entrepreneur, and give me one of your takeaways. Or even if you say that you saw me, my team is, we're going to do 2 drawings, and I'll probably do it live, maybe on Instagram or even live on my site, and we'll draw 2 names and we'll send out the books.
Maybe the day this comes out.
I like it.
Yeah, maybe we do that. Couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, guys. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I like it.
So we hooked that up.
There we go.
All right, man. Hey,
yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
No, thank you. I'm super excited to be here, and these are the conversations that I live for. I'm grateful that you took some time out, and what you're doing here is, and this is the language aspect, right? You said, I'm not the Joe Rogans, and I'm not that, but you are the necessary entrepreneur, and what you're doing is necessary for entrepreneurs to be exposed. You're exposing people, and the things that you're doing and the pouring into the earth. I always say to the people all the time when you say, well, I don't have 10,000 people, it's only this amount of people. I say, yeah, but if I affect the one who affects the 10,000, I affected the 10,000. And what you're doing, man, I'm telling you, is literally, it's changing the game for entrepreneurs, for business owners, but for families, for people as a whole. This is exciting to be a part of.
We're going to stack it up.
Yeah, man.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Right?
We'll
We'll get there. I told him, I said, guys, you know what? We're going to get to the end of 2023, and we're going to look back.
Yeah.
And there's improvements that we know we're going to be able to make.
Absolutely.
But what I told him, I said, there's going to be a moment.
Yep.
I don't know when,
mm-hmm.
but there's going to be a moment, just like we talked about Eric Thomas today.
Yeah.
If you keep going.
Keep at it.
You never know the person, the comment, the reel, the YouTube short.
Oh, yeah.
Keep producing content. You just never know. Someone sees it and says, maybe that's it.
Yep.
And that's the 1 million subscriber person. And then
Absolutely.
Everybody that even came before them, not us,
yep.
Everybody that had an episode before, then your love gets spiked.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
All right, man. Thanks for bringing us the love, the excitement. I think, and what'd you say that Kyle Draper says? What'd he say? What'd you say? What do you say? What is it? Come on. Come on.
Come on.
He says that when he's like, I like that, man. I like what you said. Let's go. Let's do this thing. Hey, I hope you have a great rest of the year.
I appreciate you.
We're
Likewise,
excited,
brother.
I don't know when this next book comes out you talked about.
Yeah.
2024?
Yeah, we're looking at first quarter.
Okay, you're going to self-publish it the same way?
Yeah. I mean, we have some talks on the table with a couple publishers, but it's got to be the right deal. It got to make sense, and it got to be,
It's got to be equitable.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not even, it's got to be, I think every partnership has to go through the lens of what's best for not just the product, but for the people that the product is designed for.
Exposure.
So, we just want to necessarily make sure that we're doing the right thing for the people.
All right, man. I appreciate your voice. It's good. That's something you're born with. You can't train that.
Yeah, man. I appreciate that.
All right. Thanks a lot, brother. Thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it.
Okay.